Hello and welcome to the Miles and Goggles Show. I'm your host, Miles. We don't have Jackson today. Jackson busy working all week. Um, quick shout out to him working hard, getting that bag. But had to get an episode up with free agency coming on, so I decided to go out and find one of the more knowledgeable, one of my friends with the NBA, and that is Ben. So across my screen, we've got my guest host, Ben. Ben, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good, Miles.
Good, good. Excited to have you on. Talk about free agency as it has now been a week since free agency has started, and there has been, a solid amount of movement. Some players staying with where they're at. Let's start with the stars. I would say that stayed where they're at. So let's see. Who do you want to start with first? Let's talk about Kyrie Irving staying with the Dallas Mavericks for 3 years, 126 million. Ben, what do you think about Kyrie staying with the Mavs?
I like that for Dallas because I feel like Dallas would be in a mess if they were to let Kyrie go sign with another team like the Lakers or Suns. Just because I feel like Luca would get more unhappy if Kyrie left them and they had the money and the draft picks to be able to go sign good defensive players, which they were able to go and do. And I thought keeping Kyrie was a great decision by Dallas. I like that for them.
And I like that they didn't give him a full max. You give him the 3 years, just and with the player option on the third, just to be careful in case anything happens with Kyrie. It's not a terrible contract or anything like that. I guess talking about the other moves that the Dallas Mavericks made, we can get into the Grant Williams move that they just made a few days ago, which turned out to be a sign and trade uh, deal here, which sent Reggie Bullock and a first round pick to the Spurs, the Mavericks getting Grant Williams and two second round picks from the Celtics, and the Celtics getting three second round picks from the Dallas Mavericks. And Grant Williams signing for 4 years, 53 million. Uh, what do you think about that for Grant Williams, who's had an up and down, career, and especially last season?
I would say I like that for Dallas because Grant Williams is a guy that I think they needed it because they needed a wing that could provide the great defense and that can do a nice job at knocking down 3 pointers. And Grant Williams is a guy that can do that. He can replace what Dorian Finney Smith used to do for them.
Yeah, exactly. I 100% agree. I think the Mavericks they definitely they should have a better season next year than last year. They should definitely be in the playoffs next season. With their new additions, they signed Seth Curry as well, who's it's going to be his like third stint with the Mavericks there. Um, Going around here, we can get to the Blazers in a little bit. Let's talk about the Milwaukee Bucks keeping their veterans in Chris Middleton and Brooke Lopez, two guys who key pieces to the Bucks that they really needed to keep because, I mean, I don't think that you're calling them, they're definitely still contenders because Giannis Antetokounmpo is still on that team, but I'm they're definitely one of the favorites in the East. They may be the favorite. They may be the favorite to win it all. I don't think that's the case if you didn't bring back Brooke Lopez or Middleton.
Yeah. So as of now, even with bringing back Middleton and Lopez, I wouldn't have them as the favorites to win it all, but they definitely have a nice shot at winning it all possibly next season with bringing those two guys back because the Bucks would have been in trouble, I think, in multiple ways if one of those guys at least couldn't come back. Huge trouble if both of those guys left in free agency, and I thought it was huge for them to retain those guys and bring them back in free agency.
Especially in the case of Brooke Lopez, because he is just like the perfect fit with Giannis being able to shoot and defend on the interior. And I mean, Bobby Portis would have been their back, would have, started, and he's obviously a very good player. But then you don't have you lose basically all of your depth with your bigs after that because they signed Robin Lopez. That's their only other big that they have on that team. So it would have been bad if they lost Brook, but they got both Lopez brothers on their team again. Um,
I love
I
that.
know, I love it. I love it too. I love Robin Lopez. Um, let's see, but who do you want to talk about next?
Let's go into the Los Angeles Lakers.
Okay, yeah, the Lakers definitely a huge winner of this summer, I would say, with their signings. Retaining three key players with D'Angelo Russell, Austin Reeves, Rui Hachimura, and then going out and signing Gabe Vincent, Torian Prince, Cam Reddish, and Jackson Hayes. All guys that, have a lot of potential and can contribute, to teams, and they should play, have solid roles alongside LeBron James.
Yeah, they should for sure. And I really like what the Lakers have done at free agency, and I agree with you, Miles. They're definitely big winners. I've liked all of their moves. Uh, they've done a super nice job, and the Lakers are going to be contenders out of that Western Conference this year.
Yeah, for sure. After making the conference finals, after that brutal start to the season, they're that team looks very solid, like too deep at each position. Um, that team should be very solid. Austin Reeves coming back, he could take another step up. Um, I'll be interested to see who they decide to start come opening night. If they want to start Rui Hachimura or Jared Vanderbilt again, I don't know. Whatever they decide to do, they are set up very solidly for this season. So
Right. And I think they should start Hachimura and being able to retain Rui and Austin Reeves and D'Angelo Russell. I just couldn't believe I was like, wow, didn't know that they would have the money to retain all of those guys. That was huge for them to be able to retain all of those guys.
yeah, for sure. And I'm curious to see how Gabe Vincent will play. Like we'll get to I'm sure Max Struess and that later, but I'm interested to see like those heat culture type guys, that were developed, in the heat system and all that. Heat culture is a big thing. How they perform outside of the heat, outside of that situation, because we've seen, before that doesn't always work out the best when they leave their situations. I could think Josh Richardson is a big example of that, and of course now he's going back to Miami. I'm just interested to see how that'll work out. But great offseason for the Lakers. The West, once again, it's going to be a dogfight, to make the playoffs.
Yeah, sure will be a dogfight, and I agree with you. It's going to be really interesting to see if Vincent and Struess can still look like or get get even better than what they were on the Heat on their new teams.
Yeah, for sure. We've talked a little bit about the stars and the free agency. Let's talk a little bit about some of the key role players because this wasn't a crazy free agency class full of stars, but there were a lot of solid role players that were on the market and that were available that signed to different places. So on this graphic, I've got four different players. I know you can't see Ben, but on the graphic, I've got Dylan Brooks, Bruce Brown, Dante DiVincenzo, and Max Struess, and there's tons more free agents or solid role players that signed, um, to different teams that we'll get to, like Eric Gordon, Malik Beasley, Dennis Schroeder, just different guys. Josh Richardson, as I mentioned before. Um, which role player that moved teams this summer do you think could have the biggest impact with their new team?
Wow, that is a great question. That's a hard one for me to answer, but I got to pick somebody, and I feel like I got to go with Eric Gordon on the
That's a
Suns.
that's a that's a good pick, I would say. You know that go. I'm
And
sorry. Keep going.
I'm thinking that because I feel like he's gonna fit Frank Vogel's system really well. And I feel like Frank Vogel is gonna use Eric Gordon as that free D kind of wing, a lot like how we used KCP with the Lakers back when they won the title in 2020.
That's a good. Yeah.
That's what I think he's gonna do with him.
Yeah, and the Suns, coming into this offseason, they had like 5, 6 players under contract. They needed to fill out their whole roster, and they did that very well. You mentioned Eric Gordon, who's I think is a very underrated pickup that I know you and I both like, but I don't know if a lot of people are really mentioning that with Eric Gordon. But also bringing back Josh Okogie could be big, a good versatile player. Um, they re-signed Damian Lee. They signed Yuta Watanabe from the Brooklyn Nets, two of the top 3-point shooters in the league last season. And, some of these guys that they picked up, I think could be big, maybe not big, pieces or whatever, but around, stars like Beal, Booker, and Durant. You need those role players that can, connect pieces of the puzzle together. And I think that's what these guys can do. I think that Josh Okogie is a connector. I think that Keita Bates Diop is a connector. He's someone that I think could start for them as that connector type of piece.
Ooh, I am not sure if Kata beats Dia would start, but if it, but maybe if they like need him that
Yeah,
badly for like size, they could start
yeah,
him.
he had a
But
solid campaign with the Spurs last week. Let me go find his splits post All Star break. Because he had a very, yeah, post All Star break for the Spurs, he averaged 13 points, 4 boards, 2 assists, shot 43.5% from three. I mean, maybe it's just because it was the Spurs and there's a lot of opportunity. But, I think even that he gives some size at 6'8", he can rebound a little bit. I think that it could be a solid pickup. He could do things that maybe they lose with Torrey Craig because Craig went to Chicago. So, I don't know.
yeah, I'm not too sure either. But it'll be interesting to see what the Suns do with Kata Bates Diop and how their other role players look for them. Like you said, you think they're all gonna find the way to connect with each other well, and I think all of the role players are gonna do that as well. I agree with you there, and yeah, it'll be interesting to see how Suns do as a whole as a team this year.
Yeah, for sure. Um, next up, I know Jackson. When Jackson's back on, I'm sure he'll have stuff to say about his favorite team. But we've got to talk about the Houston Rockets as they made some big moves. I mean, they got Fred VanVleet. They got their guy on a huge deal, 3 years, $130 million. Also picking up Dylan Brooks for 4 years, $80 million. They got a backup center, Jock Landale, veteran Jeff Green. They just signed Aaron Holiday. They made a lot of moves this summer. I mean, they gave up some pieces too. They traded away KJ Martin, Ty Washington, Usman Garuba. But what did you think about the Rockets offseason, and how do you think this could improve them?
First of all, I did not like the signing of Dylan Brooks for them because I think in the past the Rockets have been irresponsible kind of as a team sometimes,
That's very
Dylan
fair to
Brooks
say.
is Dylan Brooks is a guy that I think is irresponsible, and also the Rockets had efficiency problems last year. Dylan Brooks was a guy that was inefficient with the Grizzlies, and they ended up giving him a 4-year, $80 million contract.
Yeah, that's
That was like, what are the Rockets doing? I would not do this if I were them. That was a bad move by the Rockets, and one reason why I would give their free agency L.
Well, what do you think? I agree with you on parts of the Dylan Brooks thing. Because I don't think he's the best fit along a young team. I think like you said, the inefficiency is a problem. That contract could look bad later. Um, but what did you think about them going out and signing Fred Van Fleet? You know, I think that's a very good veteran leader along those guards. But they have so many guards already. I'm not sure how their guard rotation is going to work.
I'm not sure either, Miles. And when I first saw that Fred Van Fleet signed with the Rockets on a 3-year, $130 million contract, I was like, well, I don't like this for the Rockets because I thought they should have tried to have given Brooke Lopez uh, a pretty big contract to where they could possibly lure him to go to the Rockets
Well,
over the Bucks.
interestingly,
And
according to all reports, Brooke Lopez, the Rockets did offer more money than the Bucks offer, and there might have been some type of verbal agreement, but he just went back to the Bucks. So the
hmm,
Rockets, they definitely pushed for their guys, but Brooke just wanted to stay with the Bucks, which I don't blame him at all. I don't think that Houston is the brightest spot to go to if you're that type of player. Especially they already have Şengün, who I'm a huge fan of. I don't think you want to take minutes, but like I don't know. We'll see how it works out. I think that this can improve them. I think that Fred Van Fleet. I think that the fact that they have some veterans can really improve them. Because I was doing some research. Just this is a crazy, insane stat. Um, this shows you how young the Rockets were. Players that were 23 years old or older played only 17% of their minutes last year, which is crazy. That 22 years old or younger played basically all the minutes for the Houston Rockets.
oh my gosh, that is a crazy stat. I never knew that about them. And speaking of the bringing in veterans, I do really like the pretty much most of the veterans they brought in. Like I think Fred Van Fleet will be a great veteran leader for them, and also Jeff Green too. He's going to be another great veteran leader for
Yeah,
him.
for sure.
And now since I found out that the Rockets did actually push for Brooke Lopez, I now actually like the idea of them bringing in Fred Van Fleet because I still feel like Ahmed Thompson will come off the bench and still get plenty of minutes and good development.
Yeah,
And then, of course, they have Kevin Porter Jr. on the roster still, who, with them bringing in Fred Van Fleet, I feel like they should look at trades for him either like before the season starts or if they can't find a good one for him before the season starts, then trade deadline.
yeah, I agree. Yeah, I agree for sure. Um, so let's talk quickly about the Cleveland Cavaliers. Um, their free agency, which I thought was very, very solid. They addressed a couple things that were very important, mainly their three-point shooting and their bench. Re-signing Karis LeVert for 2 years, 32 million, getting Max Strus, George Niang. Um, I think that's definitely huge for the Cavaliers. Also, some smaller moves, picking up Damian Jones and Ty Jerome. Um, what did you think about the offseason for the Cavs?
I like the off season for the Cavs, and I'm saying the Cavs had a W off season, and that all started with drafting Emmanuel Bates at 49, who may end up being the biggest steal in the
We'll
draft.
see.
And yeah, I like that they took a chance on Amani Bates. And then in free agency, I'm happy that they brought back Karis LeVert because I think he's done well off the bench for us during his time with the Cavs and can continue doing well off the bench for the Cavs. And of course, we needed shooting and bringing back Strus and Georges Niang, who are two pretty good wing shooters, which I would say was one of our biggest needs for this offseason. And them addressing that and bringing those two guys in is definitely a W in my
Yeah,
books.
100%. I think this is as good of an off season as they could have had without getting a star, which wasn't going to happen. Um, so I think it's very important. I think that one thing that they still, I don't know if they'll be able to address it, but something that will be important is the rebounding because that was a problem. The defensive rebounding for the Cavs was not a strong suit in the second half of the season, and especially in the playoffs against the Knicks. So we'll see if that gets addressed at all. I'm not sure how it would get addressed, but it'll be interesting to see. But I think that this can definitely improve the Cavaliers and you know push them further than last year.
Yeah, I agree with you there. And me myself, even though they did bring in Damian Jones, who it's okay, but I still don't think he's gonna really help our rebounding situation get like significantly better. Like
Yeah.
if I had to guess, I feel like we're gonna end up being a little bit better with the rebounding just because I think guys will improve with their rebounding, but I still don't think our rebounding is gonna be great, and it's a concern that the Cavs should still have, in my
Oh,
opinion.
100%. It's definitely something that they'll want to look ahead to addressing in this coming season. Um, but yeah, I think I don't want to take too much more of your time. Thank you so much for coming on, Ben. It was a blast to have you on. Um, definitely want to have you back on for some more episodes when we get Jackson back on.
Yeah, that sounds great. It was awesome being able to be on and talk some hoops.
Yeah, for sure. If you guys enjoyed this video, please leave a like, subscribe for more NBA offseason content. Stay tuned for some more summer league content. I'm sure we definitely are going to have to talk about the Damian Lillard trade request and the James Harden trade request in later episode. But that'll be a whole offseason thing, or maybe maybe trades happen soon. We'll see what happens. But anyways, thank you so much for watching. I'm Miles. That's Ben, and we'll catch you in the next one.